Hi there, this is Sean from Teaching Python. Kelly and I are putting together a little series over the next few weeks where we're going to take a look at AI in education on a daily basis and give some thoughts and reflections on the things that we're seeing as coders and as teachers. And hopefully that'll help bring you some ideas and inspiration in your practice, whether it's in front of a classroom, creating content, or writing code. So, what I wanted to talk about today, my topic is what's the difference between iteration and repetition? And I think this is something that we maybe think we understand on the Python side of things with for loops and with and just while true loops. There's something about that looping that is very repetitive and it has some iteration, right? So in Python, repetition is just doing the same thing over and over again, right? So you can do a while true and nothing ever changes in that loop and it just does the same thing over and over again. So if you want to send the same email a million times, you can do that with a for I in range, I guess, to make a count, or you can do something until a condition is false with a while true loop and break out of it. But it's very repetitive and it's not necessarily iterative. However, in Python, we also have iteration. We have this concept of making loops that go over an object or process through a series of events. And that iteration, which is a fancy word for looping, I think in Python takes on different meaning. It means that we are progressing, right? That as we iterate, there are things that change, and each loop could be different from the last. Now, when we look at AI, that's a little bit harder to see because there's so many other things going on. What we mistake sometimes for actual intelligence or human intelligence can often be described as really good looping, right? And really good iteration. And in fact, when you're working with a machine learning model, sometimes the best things to do, like with a chat GPT or an agent, is to give it instructions that tell it to do things many times or to revise your inputs and try again, right? And a lot of these things are really just clever tricks where we take the same input that we had before and the output that was previously generated, and we just feed that back into the machine with some new information. It doesn't actually have memory. It certainly doesn't have emotion. It doesn't have reason. It doesn't have, I don't know, inadequacies in terms of our abilities to make mistakes and, provide inspiration and have happy little accidents as humans do, right? So when we look at AI, it's really easy to confuse what's happening behind the scenes with what's happening in front of us. And I think that's a really critical distinction, and I want to make sure that we are very aware of that as we go into the rest of the series. Most of the things you're seeing with AI and large language models of today are just really clever ways of iterating and feeding inputs and prompts back into the models and coming up with an output. After all, a large language model is just that. It's a mathematical model that takes an input and produces an output. But where it appears to be magic is through the sheer size of it. Billions, if not trillions, of nodes in that neural net that transform things as it passes through each of the models. And then when you chain models together, you even make that more impressively complex and sometimes obfuscate or obscure the things that are really going on. But at the end of the day, it's just an algorithm and it's just a loop. Where we as humans can provide value and meaning is through the things that are imperfect, right? The emotions, the chemical imbalances in our brain that come up with the most delightful and creative solutions, the insights that we see after the 1,000th iteration that nobody else sees, right? And so as you're teaching and as you're thinking about these things, we're not yet in a place where the machine model can really replace what humans can do. In some cases, it replaces things that we wish we didn't want to do, which is great, like maybe homework for students, right? Or writing yet another assessment that doesn't go anywhere other than some administrator's inbox and then immediately get shuffled off to the trash because they don't have time to look for it. So the things that need meaning, the things that need inspiration, and the things that are interesting to us and provide value and advance the human experience are the things that AI is not ready for yet. Because as many times as you iterate and as large as that model gets, it's really just at the end of the day an algorithm looping millions, billions of times to get to an outcome that's pretty impressive, but it's not the same as real meaning, real emotion, and real insight from an actual human. So as you're thinking about this, and ask yourself, what's the difference between repetition, iteration and inspiration. Sometimes it's as simple as skipping a step or taking a coffee break, and the difference is astronomy. Or astronomical. Maybe that's a better word for it. So for Teaching Python, this is Sean signing off.